Hey, this is George.
Hey, this is Fraze.
This is Real Talk with George and Frazier. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Nothing much. Everything good with you?
Oh man, look, after Wednesday, man, it's a new beginning. Wednesday was an official holiday for me, Frazier. I canceled everything. I was just like,
What?
I did, man. I absolutely did. I had a few things in the morning, and once I got done with those, and I was like, oh wait, it's inauguration time, and I'm just sitting there like this. I have to be dreaming right now. Like this cannot be happening in the real world. So I kept getting
Exactly.
up. I kept touching my cheek. I'm like, man, is this really real? Then I'm texting everybody. I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus. The nightmare is over. Like
Oh man,
just just
you should have seen the
incredible.
memes. You should see the memes going on. I have never seen so many booms come out in my life. Get on, get on that. I'm like, oh man, it was so funny. And we gotta say one thing. We got our very first African American vice president.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, look, the thing about it that made this
Yeah.
really monumental was the fact
This is
the whole world was watching. Don't forget, it was the
yeah,
Democrats that tried this in 1984, and remember it was the Republican playbook that Reagan put in place.
yeah.
Start demonizing everybody. So she never got past that. And then once they found, I guess, minute dirt on her husband, they never lived it down. Walter Mondale never had a shot, believe it or
Nope,
not.
nope.
And McCain tried it with Sarah Palin, but as you
Yeah,
know,
that was a disaster.
she was just a complete, what they say, a Wasilla hillbilly. You know what I mean?
They were here, Billy. That would be nice.
So it's nice because what it does is, for me, it shows little girls like my daughter
Yep,
that they don't have to be subservient, or they don't have to take no for an answer.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I like that imagery of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely all good.
Most definitely.
Um, Off of politics, let's get to what we're here to talk about, man. We got a good show. I
Oh,
always
you
say we got a
got
good
a
show,
today.
but we do have some guests that really come and drop some knowledge, man. And this is one of them, Mr. Matt Choi. He's with us, um, and he's a personal coach, personal trainer,
Personal trainer.
personal trainer. All
Yeah.
right, Matt, welcome to Real Talk.
Well,
What's up,
welcome, brother.
guys?
Brother. How's it
How you
going?
guys doing, man? I'm excited to be here.
Oh man, thanks for being
We're
here.
excited to have you.
Now listen, I know your last name is Korean. Do you pronounce it Choi the American way or Che?
Choi.
Choi, beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, so tell the listeners a little bit about you.
Yeah. So my name is Matt Choi. I am from the Maryland area. I'm from Montgomery County. I went to Quince Orchard High School locally, played football there. Ended up going to play Division One football at Monmouth University up in New Jersey, and I played receiver there. Yeah, I played a little bit of receiver there. I graduated with a business marketing management degree. I battled a couple injuries through my time at college, and after I got done graduated, I got into corporate America first, and that's kind of where I solidified myself, in terms of what I wanted to see myself doing in my career, what industry I wanted to be in, and kind of using my soft skills that I learned from being a former athlete and now transitioning into that next chapter of my life. So I worked corporate for about a year and a half. I got out of that industry, and now I got jumped right back into fitness again. And I started working with athletes in the local DMV area. I started my brand called the Athletes Marathon, which pretty much highlights, any athlete's journey. I think a lot of guys, after they get done playing their sport, if their sport's been their identity their whole life, they kind of get consumed in like, oh, the glory days of
Yeah.
football, of whatever, right? So for me, when I kind of started the brand, I wanted it to be, what are you doing after you hang up the cleats, the
Right.
spike, the shoes, whatever it is. So I started that. And I just kind of started networking in my local area with different mentors, other trainers, physical therapists, people that had more knowledge than I did. And I wanted to start learning and just, continue to grow my own skills. And then now fast forward to where I'm now, I have a book of my own private clients that I work with. I work with some, just, your mom and pops, people that just go to
Yeah.
work, they come back, they want to just stay active, as well as some athletes here and there. But yeah, that's kind of, if you don't know me, that's a little bit about myself.
Okay.
Oh man, it was a great story.
That was great.
because you're dealing with a football player down in Florida with
Right
Frazier,
here, baby, football.
dealing
There
with
you go.
dealing with a martial artist here, right here in New Jersey, right down the street from Monmouth University.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So we can definitely relate, man. I've been personal training and working out, man, since I was 14 years old. I started my business venture with an in-home personal training company right before the market crash, man, in
Mhm.
2005, maybe 2006. And I think I put this in my book. I didn't just jump into real estate. It was the money that I made from my personal training business that helped me save enough money to get my first piece of property, which was the townhouse that me and my wife bought. And then from that, we platformed onto something else. And that began my journey into real estate because I knew that, you couldn't kick and punch forever.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And there had to be something after that. Um, I wasn't expecting the housing crash of 2007, but you know what I mean? You live and you learn. So I'm digging the vibe that you have, man, as far as training and getting people to mentor and come in and bring knowledge because a lot of times as trainers, they expect us to have all the information.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know some trainers, believe it or not, that don't have the information and they make it up. And I'm like, that doesn't help you because if your client is training on bad information, they get hurt. It's
Exactly.
really your fault. And then on top of that, if they have a Rolodex or they're talking to other trainers, they'll be like, what? What is that crackpot teaching you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you walk a
Oh,
fine
definitely.
line, man. But it's definitely all good. How long has your business been in place?
Yes, I mean, I've been now it's coming on. I mean, coming in the summertime, right? And I mean, not summer, but like fall, March, it'll be 2 years. So it's been going strong past like, almost 2 years at this point. So it's been going well.
All
All
right,
right.
all right. Fresh.
See, me out of football. See, I train football athletes. So when I
Okay.
say football, I'm like, yeah, okay, finally somebody can relate to anything. You know, like tell her like some of like the difficulty you have with some athletes who with differential skills. So like say some athletes are more advanced than others. Like, what are your methods to get everybody on one page and one accord?
100%. I think that is the toughest thing because being a former athlete, I have a level of expectation, right? Of like, hey, you should be able to, if you're a receiver, you should be able to run a dig route or an in cutting route, a curl, whatever, right? So I think sometimes it's about expectation management as me as the trainer, right? And also with who I'm working with, right? So if I have someone that's, pretty high level elite athlete and they're able to do movements very, very well and effectively, the person that's brand new, they cannot be doing the same drill work, right? So I think it's about setting the framework for everyone that, hey, if this is gonna be a work day, we got to make sure that the person, the weakest link is on the same board as the highest achiever in that sense. So
Right.
for me, it's about breaking down in terms of what they can comprehend at the moment. If you don't know how to get out of a curl route, well, like we can't be going routes on air and running these because you're not going to do it at the right depth, at the right, position, all that stuff. So for me, it would be like, all right, well, let's just literally work on just the top of the route, right? So just that 45-degree angle cut, and I'll break it down just from there. And at that point, if that kid started to do well at that drill, then I'd be like, all right, well, let's start throwing the defense or let's start throwing just on air out there, right? But I think sometimes as trainers, especially as former athletes, we struggle to understand that everyone is not as skilled as we are or has the same mentality, right, when it comes to coaching and stuff. So for me, I always like to assume that the kid knows nothing and then I'm going to teach them from square one versus, like having a level of expectation that you should know what a dig route or a curl route is. And quite frankly, a lot of young athletes, young kids don't know the basics.
Right.
I was really lucky where I'm at. I had a great coaching staff, one of the best public school coaching staffs in the state of Maryland. But then I had teammates in college that they literally the experience they had was not anywhere close. So for me, it's about having empathy for that and be like, all right, let me take a step back and try and figure out how we can coordinate this best for this athlete, this person.
Exactly.
Nice. Now I have to say that I did play freshman football in high school.
Respect.
However, praise, since you was talking about I'm in football, okay? However, I excelled at martial arts, so I went to what I excelled at. But I did play football. You know what I mean? I did play
But to note, I did do martial arts too growing up too, so it helped me. And I did ballet, so it helped me in flexibility.
Okay, John Claude Van Damme.
Hey, I don't care what nobody tell you. That's the best tool you ever have is ballet. I
That's
don't
right.
care what nobody
That's
tell you.
Brazilian footwork, brother. Don't let nobody tell you anybody else.
What? You got to think about 300-pound guy laying on top of you. You in a lot of different positions.
That's
here,
very
up here. It's quite painful. I ain't gonna lie to you now.
oh man.
Matt, what are some of your hardest clients, man, that you've worked with? And I'm gonna ask you what you've seen, and then I'll
Mhm.
tell you what I've seen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, George, honestly, more it's sometimes a client that doesn't like change. Right. And for me, like even, how I approach my day-to-day life and even in my own business, like I'm all about growing and like having a growth mindset. I think I'm sure you guys both understand that, right? As former athletes, as a trainer, it's kind of built in us, right? Because the day you get comfortable is the day
Right.
you get past, right? So
Right.
for me, it's like now incorporating my mentality and not forcing it on someone, but lightly sprinkling how I think into someone else, right? And like for someone that that sees me twice a week and they work, they have their own business and they like golfing on the side, like working out for them is just like, hey, I'm here so I don't get fined type of mentality, right? Like on some
Right.
Marshall Lynch, right?
Exactly.
And it's one of those things where for me understanding that I got to have a program ready for them that's going to suit them best, right? So
Right.
for people that like a lot of my clients like golfing, for example, right? So they don't want to get hurt in our workout because they don't want it to affect them golfing. So if I throw in a new movement, sometimes they're hesitant to do it because they're like, I don't know how this is going to affect my body, X, Y, and Z, right? So for me, that is harder to work with than the young athlete that doesn't know anything about football, but has like the motivation to learn. Because at least there's that parallel where I can meet them halfway, and kind of like sprinkling what I know in that sense. But the person that doesn't like the change, and now I need to kind of like push you off the ledge. Sometimes for me, it's harder, honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, man, go back to my point. Then, phrase you can interject. My client, really, the ones that I have is the ones like you said don't like to change and know it all. And I normally get to a point in our trainer-client relationship where I have to tell them, "You're hiring me because I have a certain skill set, and also because of my age and what I've been doing for the last 30 plus years. I look like this. How many 45-year-olds look like this? 46-year-olds. You see what I mean? So obviously I must be doing something." And then I hit him with this, Matt, and this is the tip right here. You're paying me a premium because I'm the expert, right? When you walk into your job, do I walk into your job behind you and say, "Hey, run your business like this"? Right? So once
Yeah.
you hit them with that little psychological joint, they go, "Oh, wait, hold on. You're paying me to trust me. Okay. I know what you can and can't do." You know what I mean? And then it's a little bit easier because now the tug of war is not so bad because they're like, "Hey, you know what? Wow, George is right." You know what I mean? I know what your injuries are. I know what you can or can't do. I know what your things are, but I know that you can do this. You just don't want to do it because it's going
Yeah.
to shock. It's going to shock your body, right? And it's going to be sore, and you don't want that soreness based on the fact either you're going out tonight or you want to play golf.
Right. Right.
Hey, you're right.
Go
See,
ahead, Chris.
trust me, I had a few adults. No, what I had was a young man who said he want to get back into football.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you see me. Not tell I use this excuse every time I tell him, "Oh, you can't do it. I'm big. So if I can do it, you're half my weight. You should have no problem doing what I do, right?"
Yeah.
I love that one. 5 minutes, everybody, you ain't done yet? No, I ain't done, man. We got 5 more reps to go. But then, what I love to work with is little kids. But age like 5, between like 5 and like 8.
Yeah.
They're amazing because they pick up stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
They trust you, they will pick up, and they were so willing to do it. You tell them run 20 yards, everybody, "Okay, coach." Really? You gonna do that? You do push up, you finish. "Okay, coach." I mean, and then you go to the older kids. I love those and hate those. The 14-year-old, I don't need to do that, coach. I'm a wide receiver. We ain't gonna do all that push-ups and stuff. Then we get in the game, the first one gashing out. "Why you missed a catch?" "I was tired, coach." You got ran down. I mean, literally ran down.
Mm-hmm.
Like, before you got to like 20 yards for the end zone. You picked the ball up on the 40. You only ran 10 yards, bro. That was some problem I had when I was coaching. But nah, I got one for you. Like, what do you do with the diets? Because that's every athlete problem is they dietary issues eating for game. Because when I was eating, I don't know about when y'all got play football, But for game time, they stuff us everything but the kitchen sink.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Oh
Every
yeah.
protein you can think of, they gave it to you. It wasn't even
100%.
fun. I think I had so much stuff I got tired looking at it like, oh, I'm good. I don't want to know that.
I think that's the phrase. That's the hardest part is the nutrition, right?
Yeah.
And for athletes and for general pop, I mean, I think ultimately most people understand, right? Like, all right, I got like, if I have Chick-fil-A here versus a salad with grilled chicken and a whole bunch of other greens, like
Yeah.
9 out of 10 people will tell you which one's the healthier option. But doing that consistently is now the toughest battle, right? Because now I don't know what's happening in their household, what income their parents have to afford some more fresh quality like produce, because that stuff's typically more expensive and it doesn't last on the shelves as long versus honey buns, cookies, and a lot of stuff that when we're young, when I was younger, 5-10 years ago, I was eating because you're burning so fast. You know what I'm saying? You're burning calories that you can go get a McChicken and a McDouble at McDonald's across the street once practice is done. But it's hard for a young athlete now where like a lot of kids, because I'm on TikTok and I'm on social media, so a lot of kids DM me like, Matt, like what should I be eating? And like, it's hard for me to say like, you need to eat a salad, this X, Y, and Z, but I literally just give them general tips. Hey, instead of drinking so much soda and juice, just drink water, right? So that's instantly going to get all the sugar out your system. Get rid of candy and junk food if you can avoid it. Obviously, here and there, sometimes if you want to get, go get Chick-fil-A, whatever, like whatever your cheat meal is, that's okay. But consistently being good on your habits throughout the week is really important. And I think for a lot of kids at that point, it's not even the mental barrier for themselves, but it's also the home situation and what their parents can afford and what they have available. So I don't blame kids for not understanding like simple macro micronutrients and, eating a whole bunch of honey buns is not the best way to get your energy throughout the day, right? Like I'm sure they understand like the high level part of that, but now actually ingraining that in their lifestyle, because now it's not just about what you're eating. This is like lifestyle and food, like that's how we like people get happy off eating. Like I enjoy eating. Like I'm sure you guys are the same, right? Like you get energy off of that. So now when someone's telling you, oh, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, for a lot of people, it's a mental barrier because they're like, damn, all these years I've been thinking this was okay. Now I can't have it. And then it changes your whole your internal system as well. Because I think when people realize when you change your diet, you get different levels of energy, different levels of recovery, and it helps in so many facets that you don't even realize.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, think about fun from us for the game time. Grab a sneaker bar. Grab a sneaker for game time. You take care. I want anybody get caught slacking. You owe me so many push-ups. I get tired of seeing you do push-ups. Now you have one coach that was lazy. Now you have that one coach that nobody mess with. When best come to betting, the man do 50 push-ups for practice before he start. Every game for practice. He made a whole team do 50 push-ups with him. The whole team. And you lose a game, that's 1,000 push-ups. Peter asked how he did it, because I still don't know how. I mentally don't know.
He's traumatized, Matt. He's traumatized. I do have to say, though, for martial arts, I do 100 push-ups as a warm-up. I've been doing that for years. Okay? Not really. I require my black belts to do 100 push-ups because push-ups actually do help with punches. So that's the thing. But back to the diet, being a natural bodybuilder since I was 14, it's routine. So what basically happens is once you have your protein, your carbs, your fiber, and everything, once you learn how to eat for taste and nutrition and not eat for, oh, because I don't like how this tastes or this doesn't taste good to me, everything changes. This is just a little tip, even your food budget changes. You can get a 10-pound bag of rice and, 15 to 20 pounds of chicken and just thighs and legs, when you have your vegetable and this, that, and the third, and that's what you have. That's what you're eating for the whole month. And you prep your meals every week for 7 days. You know what I mean? And you can mix it up a little bit, like debone it, saute it, barbecue it, grill it, bake it. You know what I mean? But when it's all said and done, it's all the same thing. Simple, complex carbs, your proteins, and a vegetable, and water. Bodybuilders drink about a gallon of water a day. So it's a mindset and it's a discipline. And I knew some bodybuilders that cheated that would go and get a whole bucket of chicken because it had their protein,
Exactly.
had their fat.
Yeah.
Okay. But I was like, okay, you mean to tell me that whole bucket of greasy chicken that you ate is going to be enough? And they wouldn't eat carbs. They wouldn't eat carbs for 2 days off of that one bucket.
Oh my God.
And I
Oh,
did another guy who would come in after he got done working out. He would go to McDonald's because back then McDonald's where they would have the hamburgers for 29 cents, and he'd get
oh,
20 burgers. He'd get 20 burgers at 29 cents, and he wouldn't eat buns. So that would be his protein plus the water that he was drinking. I'm like, I'm not doing all that.
Hell no.
It's like a rock diet, man. It's like a rock diet. All the damn pancakes. You see the rock diet? We got the movie The Get Fit, the one where you had all that. This man ate almost 100 pancakes stacked this high.
No, that's
Eight
movies,
pieces.
man. Ain't nobody eating no
Ate
pancakes.
all them brownies.
Wouldn't have been able to go to the bathroom, Fred.
I don't be right here. Oh, no, man, he go by himself. Man, listen, you know.
So, Matt, talking about diet, brother, what's your diet? What diet do you like?
Honestly, so I don't follow like a specific like, keto, or even like I would say the best way I would approach it would be I kind of follow like a vegan diet. And this is a doctor I follow. His name is Mark Hyman, Dr. Mark Hyman. And basically what the vegan diet is, it's a mixture of paleo and vegan, right? So I'm a big believer. Like most people don't eat enough fruits and vegetables off rip, right? Off jump. Most people, that's not enough food. There's not enough greens and colorful foods in their diet. So I definitely almost at every single meal, I try to incorporate like a bunch of different kind of vegetables and fruits. And at that point, Mediterranean, also paleo, like you get a lot of like mixture of foods in terms of proteins and carbs and fats within the diet, right? So I don't follow a specific diet specifically, but I'm very ritual with not eating junk food, not eating like extra sugars and in terms of candy and in juice soda fashion. So I've become like very consistent, even with my own food, and and the way my body responds to it, George, is I've realized that I found like the system that works. And this is what I tell my clients all the time too, because with all the fad diets out, with keto diets and vegan, vegetarian, there's hundreds of fad diets out there, but none of those are one size fits all. Like for my mom, for example, she was a pre-diabetic. So a lot of people have diabetes because their insulin levels are so high because they're consuming too many carbs or sugars, that they need to go really on a keto diet where you basically rip out all the carbs, all the extra processed sugars, and you put your body in ketosis, which basically is operating off a lot of fat and proteins. And your body starts to burn off the excess fat while you are intermittent fasting and doing all these things. So I like to listen and educate myself on a lot of different diets, and then kind of pick and choose, like almost like you're picking up a pickup team, right? Of basketball, and you're like, all right, I want my point guard to be like Kyrie Irving, and then I want my shooting guard to be like, James Harden, whatever it is. And that's kind of how I incorporate fully in my diet. And George, like, let me not even and phrase too, like I'm not perfect, right? Like yesterday, I went to go get a fried chicken sandwich, but for me, I get my cheat meals because I'm consistent, right? So I tell clients all the time, like, look, in the beginning, yes, like we need to be as consistent as we can, but down the road, the whole point of changing your lifestyle and moving your body more is that I want you to enjoy your life. And eating greens every single day, every meal is not enjoying your life for anyone, right? So I think there needs to be a balance, because mentally and physically for our health, like there needs to be that balance of like, all right, let me give and then also take when I can,
So,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let me tell you, real quick. I made some changes to my diet that I wish I would have made in my 30s, and one of it is monk fruit sugar,
Yeah.
Coconut sugar, stevia. And the reason why I say that is because I didn't realize that monk fruit sugar and coconut sugar is 5 times sweeter than regular granulated processed sugar, but monk fruit sugar is 10 times sweeter. And I was like, man, for somebody who likes sweets, if I don't know that this was this sweet, you know what I mean? Way back then, I wouldn't have ate the granulated sugar, man. I'd have had monk fruit, coconut sugar, because all that stuff, but diabetics can eat it,
Right.
low glycemic. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And that would have changed a lot of different things. But my diet is consistent of 5 days on, 2 days off. And the reason why it's the weekend is because I'm with the kids. I'm like, man, if I'm hungry, I'm going to get this sandwich. I'm not going all the way home to have some chicken and vegetables. You know what I mean? So, that's what it is. That's what it is. But 46 years old, man. I deserve it. You know what I mean? I put the work in, so I don't mind that, and I don't hold that much anyway. So
Yeah. I'm gonna say me about being injured. See, I tried that diet. Now I ain't gonna tell you no story. My younger days, I say everything but the kitchen sink. But my metabolism was so different compared to everybody else. I burn carbs differently. I burn fat differently. So like my body have a problem. I said I perspire very quickly. So what happened? I ain't gonna feel 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
I've been on field 30 minutes. Dead serious. So what I do is I used to train my body. Now I won't tell everybody to do this. Now everybody different. Like I never drunk water in the middle of a football game. I put it on top of me. The reason why is because when you drink water, it makes you thirst more and more for the water. You pour it over your body is spread a lot quicker and also cools you down even faster. If you do it inside the pads, what it does is the water stays soaked in your pad. So everybody's burning up. You like this.
You cool.
And I'm gonna say nuts too. I learned too. I learned from a guy, a personal trainer, and he personal athlete. He took a towel, soak it in water for pregame, put it under his shoulder pads. So, and every time what it does is it does two things for you. It resists the impact of a hit. Secondly, keep you cool throughout the whole entire game. So, and when I say like how you hydrate, instead of like saying people drink a lot of Gatorade, which I think people say Gatorade is good. I think it's not. Due to the fact that the sugar intake inside of it weakens your body and muscle at the same time.
Yep.
So when you're not tired, you just cramp come a lot faster because your body wants it more and more of it. That's why you see players drink 2 times much when it's Gatorade versus water.
Yeah.
And I learned that. Now another thing I learned too with it when you're doing that is you probably know what I'm talking about. When you hit a hit, when you make a first contact with a hit, the first thing you feel is shock.
Yep.
Right? And the first thing drains you, believe it or not, is your energy. The first thing go as a first good hit is your energy. Now, what that taught me was when I take absorbent for the pads, you don't feel nothing. You feel like a baby. They hit you hard. They be like, yeah, you right there.
That's nothing.
Man, you look bigger than before. And that helped me a lot. That saved me a lot called football years. It saved me in football years. It reduced a lot of injuries. Now, go back to your diet. I like the diet. People also football. As you playing, the diet should be great too because injuries are more like the George said carbohydrates, stuff like that. It affects you a lot worse when you get hit.
Yep.
Going on your knees. The impact of your knee, if your pad come up a little bit and you hit impact knee, amino acid kicks in and builds up. Everybody knows after a football game, what can you do?
Yeah, you barely walk.
You can't do nothing. Because
that's why, believe it or not, Fraser, that's why they developed ice baths.
Yeah.
To get the contraction out and get that lactic acid out there very fast, so you're not dealing with inflammation. Well, look, I can't do it, man. The reason why I can't do it is because, man, look, I have jewels, family jewels. You can't have the jewels shrink all the way up, man, into your stomach as soon as it hits that ice water, man. I can't do it. I tried it once. I honestly tried it once, but I knew that wasn't for me. No ice bath.
That's what they do now. Hypothermia.
Yeah, the cryotherapy.
Yeah, the standing up, I can do that as long as it's not touching me. But actually, ice bath and listening to your stuff crunch up, I can't do it, man.
I wasn't that bad. Not that bad.
Yeah. I mean, Fraser, I'm like you. I mean, I was so ingrained of like after practice 2 days. Oh shit, the ice baths already outside already. I'm in there. A lot of my teammates though, like if you are afraid of the cold or you just don't like water in general, that shit is uncomfortable.
No,
I've realized that like George's point, that inflammation, whether it's psychological or not, and I mean at this point it's pretty much studies, right? Like why do you put when you have a bruise,
you put ice on it, right?
So I mean I think at that point, even if it is a mental thing, like the feeling you get out of there after you've been sitting there 10, 15 minutes, like your legs are numb, and like whether it is flushing it out or not, like it does feel better, right? In the moment, it sucks, but it ultimately does feel better. And honestly, something I've been doing more recently, I don't know if you guys heard of the guy, Wim Hof.
Oh, the guy with ice, right?
Yes, Iceman.
Keep your body to sub-0 degrees.
Yes.
A lady, I was referencing a game, a lady told me about him. And she was saying that how he does it, it regenerates the whole body. But that process to get there,
Look, Phrase, it's the same process of getting to be a football player, right? It's one of those things where what we've been talking about in terms of your habits and your routine, when you start slowly incorporating your exposure to cold, you get more comfortable, right? Like it's just natural. It's like for the past 2 months, I've been basically practicing his method, which there's two components to it. It's the first part is the breathing method of basically you're trying to hyperventilate your body and get as much oxygen into your blood, basically, right? And that's like so there's two parts. So the first one is just straight breathing. You have to go 30 to 40 deep breaths, and you're holding your breath in between each of those sets, right? And that takes about 8 to 10 minutes. So I do that in the morning, and if I have time, I'll hop right into a cold shower. But the second part is the cold shower now, where you need to slowly expose yourself to cold temperature. So let's just say you're showering. It's been 4 minutes. And then now, once you're about to get out the shower, you turn that thing as cold as it can be, as cold as it goes. And you just let it, you sit. The first week, you start for like 15 seconds. If that gets easy, next week, 30 seconds. Next week, 45, 60, so on and so forth, until you build up this resistance to getting exposed to the cold. And honestly, like I tell you, like my family thinks I'm crazy. I get out the shower, I'm like in a goddamn, I feel like I'm about to play a game, Phrase. Like I'm in such a different mood. And like you realize you're cold as shit in the shower. Yep. When you get out, your body it's like a thermometer inside. Like it warms your body right back up, right? And in the book, he talked about like when people get older, the reason that they hate the cold so much is because they don't expose themselves to the cold anymore. A lot of babies have this thing called thermogenesis, which basically warms up your body, right? You have it a lot when you're younger, but that tissue, you start losing it year after year after year after year. When you're, especially in a colder climate, people are always wearing layers, 3, 4, 5 layers, right? When it's like cold out. And all that's doing is basically making them weaker in a sense, because now your exposure to the cold is less. So anytime you get exposed to the cold, you think, oh, I'm going to get sick. Or, you know, you have all these like thoughts that are going to be like, oh, this isn't good for me. But like that guy was a great example. Wim Hof is a great example of you expose yourself to enough stress. It's no different than doing bicep curls to get bigger biceps, right? To get bigger arms. You put yourself in cold environments and you go through breathing, and it releases a lot of stress from the body, right? And inflammation as well. So it's one of those things where, to you guys' point, right? Like I think habits and routines are what make and break a lot of successful people. And that's just something that I started throwing in because I was like, you know what? Like, let me just, I want to challenge myself in a sense.
Gotcha.
How long you been doing it, Matt?
Yeah.
I read the book like maybe the end of November, and I started just incorporating into my routine. Like I've taken a cold shower every single day for the past 2 months. Like I'll start warm. The last 2 to 3 minutes is freezing cold every day. And if I take a shower twice a day, that second shower is cold regardless. At this point, like in my mind, there's no negotiating. Like it's not a thought of like, am I going to do it today? No, like every single shower, it's going to be cold. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of it, it's cold.
Yeah.
I can respect that, you know, but I can't do it, man. And the reason why I'm telling you I can't do it, man, is because only time I take cold showers when it's summertime and I've been working out and I'm really, really, really sweating, then no heat comes on. I just turn the cold shower on, boom, just to bring the body temperature down real quick. And like I said, all that. But in the wintertime, taking a cold shower,
it's crazy, George.
Hey, really late on though. Believe it or not, I perform better in cold weather than I did in hot weather.
Yeah,
I perform way better. My body was less stressed out. I sweat less.
Yeah.
I injury was a lot less because I didn't have to worry about impact too much. All that. It was, to me, look better to play in the cold than play in the hot storm weather when you sweat profusely. One, your body get everything out. Like you put in, more you put in, the more it takes out.
Yep.
right?
You know, I mean, it's crazy how it does it. And then on top of that, you gotta look at it too. Like I was looking at Wolf, I would read, the lady was telling about him, and she was saying how he goes in literally Antarctica, freezing water, and put his head up here and sit there for hours.
2 hours, George.
Hours, George.
He actually heated his body, right? So most people, like their body temperature, like 95, 97, like around that range. He was actually able to warm his body up while being in the ice bath because of his ability to, one, control his breath. And it's honestly, you know, a lot of people think it's BS or it's like, you know, there's no science behind it, but like he's had many people actually go do research on it. And like, it's actually can be learned. And it's one of those things where it sounds so out there, but
Yeah.
like it's just like working out, George. You started 14, right? Most people are looking at George, like, how are you still in this great shape? But when you build a repetition of eating good and working out consistently,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's no different than taking a cold ass shower every day and then go sit in a 2 hour ice bath. Like, I'm not saying I'm gonna go do that, but it's just proving to the point where if you're a young kid listening or whoever is listening, like if you're not good at something, practice and continue to fail fast, adapt, learn, and repeat. And you continue to do that in every little skill that you're not good at. And even the ones that you are good at, you will be very successful in whatever you do, whoever you are.
That is true.
absolutely. Look, there's no
That
doubt
is
about it. It's no different in martial arts if you're talking about ki breathing or sumshi
true.
breathing.
Mhm.
you know Bringing that oxygen into your body rejuvenates the body. A
Exactly.
lot of times the reason why people get hurt or knocked out is, one, they don't get enough water. Two, they're not breathing properly. And three, they're holding their breath when they take the hit. They don't
Yeah.
let
Yep.
the
Yeah.
impact come out. You see what I mean? And so it's the same thing about breathing. You know, breath, circulation, centering your body, a whole lot of different things. I mean, I know it works. That's why when you were saying people don't believe him, I saw something like that. Where he came out and everybody was like, "How's your body temperature this, but the water's this?" You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's the mind part of it too. He's
Yeah.
been doing this for so long that his mind has forced his body and his
To
heart
believe.
and everything to work in such a way that he's actually in control of it. Every
Yep.
muscle fiber, every breath that he takes, everything. He's
Yeah.
literally forced his body to warm up.
Mhm.
Where somebody like me would be hypothermic by the time I put my tippy toe in. Man, I can't do it, man. Do
Hey,
it.
I'm gonna tell you, it one start out most I was studying. Then when I was growing up, Shaolin. They if you know they study the body of the mind first before they get anything physical, anything. They train the mind. It
Qigong.
takes
Yeah,
months and months to train
absolutely.
the mind. They don't do any hard work,
Yep.
any training. It's just training your mind to build a mindset to be able to do things people say you cannot do.
Mhm.
Right there. I mean, I've seen thing on one finger. Like, yeah, right. I'm too damn big to on one finger. You crazy. I'm doing a pound. I'm not doing on one finger. But they do it. And
Yeah,
if you ever studied every martial arts, study mindset first, then go into the body, then get into your chakra, then get everything else to fit into. And now you notice sports not getting the exact same way.
Yep.
You're looking for your mindset first, then we work you down to get you that physical, to get you to say, I can do this now. Now I can do this. And I gotta do
well,
my players.
well, what
Me,
they didn't learn back then, but they understand now, is once your mind tells you no, the body can't do it. And I tell my students this all the time. I'm like, you tell your no, you're not going to be able to break the board. Guess what? You're not going to break the board.
Yep.
Okay? If you tell yourself yes that you can do it, then yes, you're going to do it. And I said you need to be very certain. There's no, I have to hit them with the Yoda. There's no maybe or not. There is or isn't. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Two reasons. One, you're getting ready to kick a piece of wood, and you may hurt yourself if you don't complete it. You know what I mean? And I've been tasked at black belt exams where they may ask me to do things that I've never done. But I knew in my mind, I was like, either you are or you're not. But there's no I can't or
Yep.
maybe. Either you
Exactly.
are or you're not. And once I put that in my mind that that's exactly what I was going to do, and it has to be mental first. Has to be mental. Guys can actually will themselves to win a fight, even though they're getting beat up. I'm taking the beat and I'm taking the beat and I'm tired, but I'm not gonna fall. I just need that. Oh, one punch, he's tired.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And the power of the mind is incredible.
That
Power of
is
the mind is incredible. Not just in athletics, man, in
true.
business.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, to that one.
People feed off of that energy when they're
Exactly.
be like, that guy's motivated, he has desire, he has character, he has integrity, he has everything. But what he doesn't have is what? My Rolodex. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take him and say, hey, Matt, I like this, that, and the third. I like your energy. Let me see what you got. Then I go, okay, Matt, you know what? That may not be for me, but I know Frazier. And Frazier's into football, this, that, and the third. Boom, boom, boom. He has a nice capital stack. Maybe you two guys can talk. That's how the 1% gets to where they're going. They have the Rolodex in place, and all they're looking is for the energy. You
Yeah.
know, I said
It's
in one of my
contagious.
books, yeah, it's contagious. I said in
Contagious.
one of my books, the millionaire mindset is not based on the poverty mindset, so to speak. They're millionaires is because they have 7 different jobs, 7 different businesses that make them money constantly. So if one falls off, they got 6 more. You
Yep.
see what I mean? Whereas the poverty mindset is we work hour to hour, client to client, week to week. You know what I mean? So we have to change our mindset, you know, and they believe it. There's no doubt in their mind that they're doing that. That's why if they lose $1 million, you see other people jumping off the bridge and they'll be like, oh, I'll get that back. The stronger willed people. You see what I mean? Because once you know how to make $1 million, you always make $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're so quick to file for bankruptcy because they're just like, okay, you can take that debt,
100%.
get that, get that off my plate. I'm good. Sell it for pennies on the dollar. Why? Because I still know how to make $1 million.
That's true. That's true. But I got a question for you, Matt. I got a question for you. Everybody, from a person get injured, we know the mindset. How do you get an athlete to think they still can do things after an injury, a very aggressive injury, like a knee pull, or hamstring pull, back pull? How do you get that athlete to think he's still able to do the same thing he was before the injury?
Yeah, it's a great question, Fish. I mean, I think it's something that in our sport, when you come back ACL or an Achilles, it's one of those injuries that everyone's like, holy shit. Like they start doubting that ability to return, right?
Yeah.
When I was interning at this physical therapy spot, it's called Rehab to Perform right around my area. And, they're actually very rare. Like they're different than your normal PT spots, right? That are giving like ice and stem and like these very generic passive modalities to treatment.
Mhm.
They had this article and it talked about how most people recover from an ACL within 6 months, but they're not recovered here yet in terms of like, oh, I can make this cut without the brace. They're not back to that ability in their own mind of like, oh shit, like I can make all those same movements I did, 7, 8 months ago. So that's why a lot of people, they say, oh, 8 to 12 months, depending on who it is. But when you see someone like an Adrian Peterson that rushes for 2,000 yards after tearing his ACL, it makes you realize that, oh shoot, if he can do it, why can't average Joe here do it? Now, to answer your question, to make a kid believe that is one of the hardest things you can do. I think what needs to happen is that their preparation and that their programming for rehab needs to be very on point where it's building this level of confidence throughout the program, right? Because you're not going to just be confident at month 7 when you've kind of been getting back into your routine. If you haven't built the confidence at week 1 to week 10 to whatever it is, like that whole process, you need to be slowly building the confidence within that athlete because it's not going to happen instantly, right? It builds over time, just like what we've been talking about in terms of habits and routine. You got to build that confidence back. It doesn't just happen in a day or two because your doctor says you're clear to go play now. If you weren't in the mental sharpening space throughout the whole program, the whole rehab program, I highly doubt that you're going to get there when the doctor says, oh, Fraze, you're clear to play now. Like you don't need a brace. Go back out there, join the team. You're not ready, right? So it's one of those things where I think the preparation within the rehab and then now like the off-season prep is crucial for that athlete. And I think it's one of those things where for each athlete, it's going to be different. Some people are more resilient than others. Some people have faced adversity and responded. Some people, that's their first failure. That's their first roadblock and they don't know how to respond. So I think it's tougher for that kid versus someone who, maybe they've been through hell and back throughout their own household and they understand how to be resilient, right? So I think that one is tough because the mental side, it's just like the diet. There's no one size fits all,
Absolutely. And also, too, you have to teach them handicaps. And what I mean by handicaps is on the martial arts side of it, not football side, I've had injuries to where I couldn't raise my leg up and I couldn't raise my leg up for a year. You know what I mean? But to my students that I'm teaching, all of a sudden, instructor is not teaching with his or kicking with his right foot anymore. He's just kicking with his left, And so after I come out of it, I tell them, I said, you guys notice for the last year, I haven't kicked with my right foot. Well, I injured that sparring, training, or whatever it was, and I couldn't raise my foot past my hip. So I wasn't going to sit here and attempt to do something I know I couldn't do when I was injured, but I wasn't going to stop because I'm right leg dominant. So that type of injury just really helped me because now my left foot is as good as my right foot. So now when you sparring me now, that's why I can kick you anyway, as opposed just to the right side because I'm training my left foot. Why? Because if I'm being attacked outside, I can't say, oh, Jimmy on this side, this next side is injured. That doesn't work. Okay, I still have to be effective because I'm a family man and I have to go home to my family.
Mhm.
And so it's a mindset. And then when they go, oh wow, well he can do it. And yeah, I was here for the whole year. I never saw him use his right foot. Maybe I can do it. And the same thing.
Yep.
Teaching them handicap push-ups, teaching them moves that they can't do because they
Yep.
can't do that, and then you build it and you keep building it and you keep building it. You just watch that confidence grow because they're like, okay, now all the muscles or everything around that area is firm, right? It's fit, it's ready
100%.
to go. So now you don't have to worry about re-injuring that area, or that may be a concern. That happens a lot when guys get kicked in the ribs. So you guys know, are punched in the ribs, and they think that their ribs are either broken or
Yep.
fractured. A lot of times it's a sprain or a bad pull or tear. They don't want to. They don't want to do that again because of the excruciating pain, and they get psychological where they're always fitching and moving in that
Yep.
particular area, and it's just like, nah, bro, that's the fake. Bing, bing. That's
Yep.
the what I mean. You got to get past that rib injury to cover the cover punch. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, you know what I mean. It's psychological.
Hundred
Yes.
percent. Fred, honestly,
Hmm?
like a great way to answer a question more, I guess, like how to implement that for a kid. I think by having them practice it within their day-to-day life, like George is saying, right?
Yep.
So, for example, if you're coming from an injury and like you're not able to run yet, right? Well, doing things that are making you uncomfortable before you get cleared to actually start doing these things, like that's probably the best thing you can do. I read the book by David Goggins called "Can't Hurt Me," right? And he
Yeah.
starts talking about just these crazy feats that he was doing, crazy ultra marathons and all these things, and it made me motivate myself to like, all right, let me tap in for myself. How far can I go on a run without stopping and all that stuff, right? The best teacher is actually failure and learning it, right? So I think it's one of those things where kids, if you're younger, you got to open up your own mind and be like, all right, I'm not good at this. Well, I'm going to start slowly tapping into it. It's no different than what George is saying about the 100 push-ups, right? A lot of kids say, I can't, never, all these things. And these are just words that are, they're trapping themselves in their own box, right?
That's
So I think
right.
the best way to teach it and learn it is to practice it in your day-to-day life. And I think that's something that helped me. And I think for a lot of people I associate with, it's no different than what I try to implement for them. Like a lot of people I know hate running. So I hold weekly running workouts on Saturdays where I welcome anyone, whether you're a marathon runner or you only like weight training, come pull up and we'll do a quick track workout and you'll prove yourself that you can run way further than you thought. And I think that is the best life teacher.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
That
No
is true.
doubt about it. You know what I mean?
I learned through injury.
Fair.
I played football. The first day I played football, I got injured, hit me in the knee. Now adrenaline running, you don't feel anything, you still doing everything. For the first time in my entire life, I felt my knee buckle and I could not get up. Now my body said, "Here, get up, bro, get up. It ain't that bad. Get up." But the body kept saying, "No,
Yeah,
it ain't gonna work for you, buddy. Go on the bench." So, and saying that is how somebody said recovery take weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. Now go back, you said about the mind, piggyback, you said about the mindset, Matt. My mindset was as in, I'm gonna get back and play. I want to play.
That's
I
right.
want to feel. So what I did was, for a whole day, 2 days, I couldn't walk. I walked more, painful as hell. I want nobody. I want everybody to do it, but it was. And when I started doing what I learned as I go, okay, if I can do this, I can do this. Each, like you said, each little milestone you set, you get better.
That's right.
Okay, I'm gonna walk a little further today. Boom, did it. By the time the second week to play football, I was running at 60%. I could run 60 yards. I could run 80. I ain't gonna lie to you. I couldn't run 80 yards because what happened was, go back to amino acid and elite, and it's how you tell if you tear something or it's a spring. It's how you can tell the difference. When I ran, it hyperextended too much.
Right.
You can feel hyperextended. You can feel it. And I think a lot of people understand. That's why I say a lot of people have a hard time mentally understanding how hard it is to come back from injury, because either way you do it, you're telling your body and mind are not in sync again. Cycle is not in sync. That's something I learned too. When you injury, you must learn to resync your body. The body has to resync itself again. The mind has to be able to tell the muscle to do something. Because somewhere in that line, your mind don't tell it, can't do it. Your body resists. Like a bad kid. Your mama tell you do something, they ain't gonna do it. Now they fight each other. They go do it. No. Run. No.
Right.
Remember last time we ran, the guy hit us. No, I'm not doing it no more. So I think too, a lot of times you have mental battles in your head when it comes to injuries and mindset of can you cannot do. Your mind said you can because based on what you previously done, like you said, Matt. Now the news pop up. The other guy on the other side said, "Remember what happened this time? You remember? They got called the remember theory. You remember this? What happened there? You remember it again? Remember the pain? You know, and I think that's one also people fight also at the same time too, in mental wise. Now, going back to ask you the question. So say you have a person come to you and you ever heard a person come with like what they call it's not heart failure, but some athlete have what they call a weak heart.
Uh-huh.
It's not really weak because of injury, whatever. It's weak because of lack of diet,
Cardiovascular conditioning.
conditioning and not probably working the muscle properly. Like, have you ever any clients like that? And what would you suggest the client to recover from that or help them build themselves up?
I haven't had a client specifically with that. I've had teammates with like sickle cell where obviously it's the anemia, like where you lose your ability to actually do long distance cardio or just any cardio in general because your body doesn't absorb as much oxygen. So I think this is what I would tell that person is that I want you to get as uncomfortable as you can without hurting yourself. And if we can slowly make these little milestone wins and build upon that, that would be a great foundation, right? Where you can be like, all right, your doctor said you can't run, but you just did it, right? It might not have been for miles, but even this little milestone of being able to do like a quick 10, 15-yard sprint, I think starting out slow and building up these small wins so that you can get the mental confidence would be where I would go just because I haven't had that specific circumstance. But one of my clients, she's a heart transplant client. So she got a new heart, right? So it's her situation is very similar in the sense of like, she can't have her heart rate go over 140. And we go on a leisure walk and it gets spikes up to 140 to 150, right? In moments. So even for her, I try to push her of like, hey, like, let's just see if we can go without stopping, right? And like, that could be a win even for her. It might not be her back to her jogging and running pace, but at least it's something like, all right, well, think about it. Today, it was a win because you didn't have to stop and get a rest and get some water. Like you made it the whole mile and a half without stopping. And then now when we get into the actual like strength training, resistance training aspect, I start throwing some more like hit style like movements where it's like it's not just like a regular squat. It's like we're gonna do like a squat jack where something where your heart rate's gonna be spiked up and then back down, right? So I think it's to answer your question, Fraser, I haven't had that specific circumstance, but that would be kind of like what I would do. I would make sure that they build up the small wins, build the foundation down, and then from there we start challenging mentally and physically what the body can do. Because I know for a fact, if you can open up here, you can start doing a lot more, right? But until that happens, you can't just tell, hey, now let's run 5 miles. It ain't gonna fly because if they don't believe it, then it's not gonna happen. So it's one of those things, build this foundation, and then from there you can start throwing in more challenges. Probably what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Just to add on to that, Matt, you also have to learn how to triage yourself. Everybody laughs at my martial arts bag because I have ankle braces, knee braces, shoulder braces in there, elbow braces,
Mhm.
tape and everything. And everybody's like, why do you have all that stuff in your bag? I said, that represents all the injuries that I had because when we're banging, we're banging. It's not
Yeah.
Exactly.
light, it's not easy. But I don't stop because I rolled my ankle. I don't stop because I hyperextended my knee. Okay. I put my knee brace on and I put tape on it to make sure that my knee doesn't buckle. It only flexes and goes back one way so I can still train. Why? Because my mindset is always I'm training for survival. Um, I'm not training for sport. In my younger days, I used to see a lot of black belts, and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm a black belt," and they do all this other stuff, right? And they get into a fight or a street altercation, and they get hurt or knocked out. And I'm like, "Why?" I said, "Because when you fought him like you was in a ring, and the ref was going to say, 'Bruh,' when you got hurt." And that's
Yeah.
what happened. Okay, I said, right. You got to learn how to fight for survival. And once I understood that and saw it happen, I started teaching my students that way. And they were like, why? I said, because all the punching and kicking skills that I'm teaching you, right? You should be able to use to defend yourself. Now, if you got a guy telling you you can only kick and punch from the belt up, all that stuff should be easy. You
Mhm.
don't have to worry about leg kicks. You don't have to worry about checks. You don't have to worry about knees or elbows or anything like that. Just go score as many points as you can, if you can, from the belt up, right? But if I
Exactly.
just teach you from the belt up, then you don't know about knees, elbows, check kicks, low leg kicks, sweeps, nothing. You see what I mean? And
Yeah.
you miss the whole part of it for the stuff that you need. You're not going to be out there squaring up with somebody to be like, fight. It doesn't work like that. You
I would
know
love,
what I'm saying?
I would love to see that one.
It doesn't work. You
You
know?
want to fight?
Yeah. Yeah, you have 2 or 3 seconds to dispatch this person, see who he's with, and get eye on target to the next person. That's how quick it goes if your mind is there.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have this movie mentality. But like I said, back to my point, you got to learn how to triage yourself because you're going to feel a little bit of pain. I tell all my students this, if you train with me, you're going to feel a little bit of blood, sweat, and tears. And you're going to feel all three of them while you're training with me at some point in time in our training career.
Mhm.
So get used to it. We kick and punch, but this is not ballet. This is real life. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So it's the mental training too, as far as the heart. I mean, you got guys that are just all heart, but they
Yeah.
don't have the skill set. And I'm
Yep.
like, I like that. But if you don't get some of this little technical skill, you're going to end up hurting yourself to the point that it either comes systemic or it just to a point that you can't train anymore because every time you lift your shoulder up, it pops out because
Yep.
you've dislocated it so many times and you haven't been paying attention, you know. So there's a lot, man, that goes along with training. What I like is when people say I can't, and then all of a sudden when they do it, Matt, their eyes open up, they start
Yeah.
crying. Oh, I couldn't believe that I did it, man. I couldn't have done it without you. Of course you could have. You
Look,
just needed me here
that's
to
true.
get you across the finish line because you didn't have enough faith in yourself.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
it's definitely a beautiful thing, man. Really quick, man, that hour went by
I got
fast.
one. I got one thing for Joe. One thing.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
One thing. Like how I train myself tonight. I train myself when I get tired. My warm up to get me tired. Then I start training.
Right.
So I mean I literally tire myself out. Then I start training. Like when you doing implement like certain techniques or certain arbitrage with certain clients, like do you like say you have a client already energetic, but he never played tired, or the guy who's tired never played energetic. Do you
Right.
start the programmer where the guy who's screaming energetic, you tire him out. You do everything, you tire him out. You say, okay, that was warm up.
That's a great question. I mean, I think. Let me actually think about this then. I think it really depends.
Okay.
Yes, I think I do that with certain people I know that can tolerate it, right?
Right.
Where it's like, all right, we're going to be a lot more intense in the beginning, and they kind of like simmer down throughout the workout. On the flip end, the person I just was with at 6 o'clock, I like throwing him curveballs. Like sometimes we'll go a quick like Tabata workout on the treadmill to warm himself up fully, just get your heart rate, blood flowing, and then we'll go into strength and resistance training. But then sometimes I do it where I throw it in the middle or even at the end where it becomes like a finisher, and now after we just train legs, I need you to do some of these sprints on the incline. Right.
Right.
So for some of my clients that are older, I throw those challenges in, but I think that would be way more things I would do with younger athletes because I think some of my demographic I work with, back to George's point, maybe I need to depict the message better of like, hey, I'm the expert and this is why we're doing it. But sometimes when you're just trying to dog someone out, you're really just like you're trying to test their mental of like what their will is able to do. But I think for some of my demographic, it wouldn't always suit best for them. So I don't always use that tactic, but there are a few that I do already do that now, and they do enjoy it because they're a little bit younger and they like that kind of like competitive, feeling of like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this on an interval type of like system, So that's I would say it just varies for me.
And just from my point, once you learn how to work out and you can teach somebody how to work out, it doesn't become robotic, you know.
Yeah.
And so I can honestly say this in the last 25 years, 20 years, I've been training people. I don't think I've put my client through the same workout twice. You know what I mean? Because it's just like I know body parts. I know what body parts have to be trained. I know you. I know the exercises that you need to train those body parts. So you're never going to come to me and do the same workout twice once I get you there. Now, if you're in the beginning, then yeah, you're going to do legs, shoulders, tries, chest, back, and buys, blah, 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 this, that, and third until you become strong enough to get to where I want you to go. But once I know that you're there and you can do it, then boom, because now all of a sudden we're switching, we're moving, we're doing all these different things. Sometimes it's high intensity, sometimes it's low intensity, sometimes it's strength, sometimes it's light, sometimes it's maximum repetition. You know what I mean? And you just keep going, and the body's like, well, what's happening? Because I can adjust.
Yeah.
That's what I want you to have. You know what I mean? So, I mean, like I said, once you know how to work out and train somebody, it actually becomes fun because you don't have to be robotic. You be like this, do 100% now. No, you know, you know, do firemen's, do something else, do claps, do hands and elbows, man. Let's go get it. You know what I mean? So it's definitely all good. Matt, listen, man, it was a joy having you on here. We could talk about training, man, all day. We'd love to have you back on the show. Tell everybody, man, where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, guys. I mean, one, I appreciate George Fraze for having me on as a guest. It was a pleasure just getting this chance to talk to you guys. But yeah, follow me on Instagram at Matt MATT Choi CHOI _6. Same handle on TikTok. Pretty good.
Holy smokes!
The kid right here.
You're fine. I'm on YouTube as well, Matt Choi, and I'm on Twitter at mchoi _6. So if you guys have any questions for me, if you're in the DMV area, feel free to reach out, shoot me a message.
So when you say DMV, I'm in Jersey, so I think you're talking about the Department of Motor Vehicles.
No, I'm talking about DC, Maryland, Virginia. If you're local, you would know. But yes, the MVA, I also call it the MVA, like what you're talking about, DMV. But yeah, that's kind of like, I guess, more of a Maryland term, DC, Maryland, Virginia, for the DMV.
Oh, okay. You're like, okay, try that this week.
I need to go update my license, man.
All right.
No
Man, Matt, how you doing, buddy? License, okay.
You got the wrong number.
Yeah, man, it's nothing but love, brother. We definitely appreciate you for being on the show.
You gotta come back, brother. You gotta come
out, man. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one, all right?
No doubt.
All right, take care.
Yo, I told you I was going to be a good show, man. Anytime
that was a banger, man. That was a
exercise and everything else, man. You know, we dropped some pearls in there. I hope you guys are able to pick some of those things up as far as mental fortitude and toughness, and just being your better self. And not stopping and believing. So we greatly appreciate Matt for coming on, man. Check him out if you're in the DC, Maryland area. That was real talk. Hey, this is Fraze. I mean, this is George. Oh, try it again. Hey, this is George.
Hey, this is Fraze.
Real talk, yo. We out.
Yeah. Peace.
Wait, hold on. I forgot. We got a show tomorrow, 7:00. Special show, yes, with
Carmen Miller.
Carmen Miller. She'll be on tomorrow. So check us out.
7:00.
7:00.